And why are we not mad at the serpent? Why are we mad at Eve? Why are we not mad at the serpent? Because one, Eve, she wasn't there when the command was actually given. Like, she was on the inside of Adam, but the command was given to Adam. Okay, we'll get into that in a minute. Hey guys, welcome back to Talitha Cumi, A Daughter's Awakening. I'm your host, Song. I'm back in like one of my favorite places, the car. And today is day 7. And y'all gonna get this message really late, but I'm gonna get it out on day 7. Today has been a very long day, and I'm finally able to sit down. And this past week has been very long, so I'm finally able to sit down and record this. But I'm really excited because all of the first 6 episodes were building the foundation for getting to this message and the messages that are coming after it. And this is what I've been sitting with God as He has been realigning my whole thought process and healing my nervous system, and like just reprogramming everything on the inside of me and healing all the trauma and all of those things. And so in that, He started showing me different patterns and wounds going up through my bloodline, from the women and on the men and all different things like that. And I continue to follow the lineage as much as possible. And I just kept seeing like, oh, so this is why this person was like this, and this is why this person was like that. And it allowed me to humanize people instead of criticizing the way that they did things, because I could actually see their wounded places and bring humanity into and compassion from Jesus into those situations. And so He ended up taking me there. Obviously some family members that I couldn't go all the way up because I don't know like everybody's storylines, but I ended up going all the way back to the Garden of Eden, and that is where we're going to tonight. So we women have this thing about where we're so mad at Eve, and if we see Eve is on site, and why would she do this, and all of these different things. And the way that the Lord has laid out for me, understanding what actually happened in the garden. And you would think like if somebody was going to be mad about what happened in the garden, it would be God. But He was more grieved than He was angry about it. And so I want to go. If we know in Genesis 1 is when God created everything. That's even when He created man and woman. He said, let us make them in our image and likeness. That was before He literally created bodies. And then so He created man, but on the inside of man was woman. And then he had Adam in the garden, and Adam was walking in his purpose, doing what he's supposed to be doing, naming all the animals, being a caretaker, doing all that stuff. And God said it wasn't good for him to be alone. And so He put Adam to sleep, because sometimes God does His best work when we sleep, because then we're not in the way and trying to navigate and tell Him how we need Him to bring the blessing that He has for us. And so so sometimes He will wait till we go to sleep, or He will put us to sleep, and then bring out of us what he needs to bring out of us. So he put him to sleep, and then he brought Eve out of him. And at the end of Genesis 2:25, it says, now the man and his wife were both naked but felt no shame. And this was the beautiful picture of what the garden was supposed to look like. They were supposed to be able to be freely themselves and known each other intimately and known God intimately and walk in the cool of day and spending time with God and have no shame about anything and have dominion and all of those beautiful things. And then we go to Genesis 3. And now, why are we not mad at the serpent? Why are we mad at Eve? Why are we not mad at the serpent? Because one, Eve, she wasn't there when the command was actually given. Like, she was on the inside of Adam, but the command was given to Adam. Okay, we'll get into that in a minute. So the serpent, he was the shrewdest of all of the wild animals that the Lord had made. And one day, this is verse 1, one day he asked the woman, did God really say you must not eat the fruit from any of the trees in the garden? So he was trying to see if she really knew what God had said. Again, God did not tell her this directly. He told it to her husband. So she goes on to say, of course, we may eat fruit from the trees in the garden. The woman replied, it's only the fruit from the tree in the middle of the garden that we are not allowed to eat. God said you must not eat it or even touch it. If you do, you will die. She didn't know, because God didn't say don't touch it. He said don't eat it. But this is, you remember that game, like the telephone game, when you get somebody tells somebody something and then they try to reiterate what's said, and as the story keeps going, it ain't exactly what was said. That's kind of what happened in this situation. And so the serpent told her, you won't die. God knows your eyes will be open as soon as you eat it. Yep, her eyes was definitely open. And you will be like God, knowing both good and evil. The woman was convinced. She saw that the tree was beautiful and its fruit looked delicious, and she wanted the wisdom it would give her. So she took some of the fruit and ate it. Then she gave some to her husband who was with her. Who was with her? Who was with her, and he ate it. How come nobody ever wants to point out that, first of all, Adam was with her while the serpent was talking to her? How come Adam wasn't in his rightful place of covering and protecting her and telling the serpent, God said no, this is not what we're going to do? And so he didn't cover her. So we get mad at Eve because she ate the fruit, but then disregard the fact that Adam was with her and he didn't do nothing, and then he just ate the fruit and he just sat there in silence. And so we're gonna scroll down to verse 16. So chapter 3 verse 16. Now, the part that most people get upset about with Eve is that we got bad birth pains and bad cramps and stuff like that. And yeah, I can definitely understand that. But I was sitting with God one day and I was like, Lord, why is it that women act the way that they act over men? Like, it's literally like we go crazy and, just don't know how to, we will do anything and just act a fool and trying to be controlling, all of these things. And the Lord said it was part of the curse. And I was like, what curse? And he was like, the curse in Genesis 3. So let me read you verse 16 in Genesis 3. Then God said to the woman, I will sharpen the pain of your pregnancy, and in pain you will give birth. People stop there. There's a whole other part of that script, that same verse, that people just skip over. And you will desire to control your husband, but he will rule over you. Now, what the Lord showed me was, in that moment when she took the fruit and her husband was not in his rightful place of covering her and protecting her as the head, that the roles essentially shifted, where now she would try to have authority and control him. But it says, but he will rule over you. This is not submission. This is actually idolizing this man. And so then we have all of these women now who are, they'll do anything to keep a man, whether it's letting him be a cheater, letting him be an abuser, letting him manipulate and mistreat them, letting them mistreat the children. I've read articles about women giving their children up for adoption or leaving them other places because the man didn't want it. Like, these are all acts of idolizing this relationship. And then on the other side of it, you have women who become so controlling and trying to, like, literally control the entire relationship. And then you have men who are extremely passive in the relationship. It all falls under this specific curse from what happened in the garden when the roles were shifted. And so as the Lord was showing me, what we have misunderstood was, it wasn't that Eve was bad. She was uncovered. She didn't have the right protection that she needed to have in that moment. And because she didn't, and because she was very influential to the man, and that's the thing, like, she was a target for the enemy, because the enemy, it says that he's very shrewd. He was the shrewdest of them all. He understood, if I could get to this woman, because I know that she has the power of influence, she has she carries reproductive life on the inside of her, she can reproduce identity. If I can get to this woman, then I can destroy all mankind, because she can hold the influence on the rest of the people who come after her, on the man and everybody who comes after her. And so it wasn't that Eve was just like, oh, well, I just want to eat this fruit and stuff. No, she was literally fell victim to being uncovered and being unprotected. And like so many other women who have gone through situations in life, whether in your childhood or as an adult, being daughters who have not had the proper covering, and then the enemy sneaks in and he attacks you, or he plays tricks on your mind and convinces you that what God has done in your life is not good enough, or God is withholding something good from you, so you need to go out and try to get it on your own. And so I can speak for myself. There's been so many times where I felt like I had to figure it out I had to go out and get it on my own. I had to be this independent woman. And when I did that, I was stressed and I was struggling, and I was trying to, whatever relationships I was in, trying to do everything in my power to make this man love me. And we have all of these sayings like, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach, the way to a man's heart is, like, all of these sayings. But that has nothing to do with kingdom alignment. That's us trying to control the narrative of the relationships that God never intended on us to control. God presented Eve to Adam when God thought the timing was right, or when he felt the timing was right. It wasn't because Eve did anything. She just showed up on the scene, and the man acknowledged, he saw, this is the woman that I need. This is bone of my bone and this flesh of my flesh. And they were able to dwell in the garden together for like a split second before the serpent came up. But because of this wound of misidentification, this wound of her not recognizing who she was in God and who she was as a daughter of God, and not having the covering that she was supposed to have, it put her in a situation where she began to feel shame. She began to feel like confusion and self-blame, like, I messed this thing up. Even though she said, well, the serpent deceived me and I did this stuff, but she had shame in this moment. And so many women now carry all of this shame on the inside of them, of, I'm not good enough, or I don't want to be exposed. I don't want anybody to see my vulnerabilities, because what Eve felt was shame, confusion, and self-blame in that situation, because she lacked covering in that moment. She thought she was going to do the right thing. She thought that she was missing out on something. She thought that God was potentially withholding something that she really needed. And her husband, who was standing there with her, did not reassure and remind her, like, God always provides for us. He's already given us this entire garden full of beautiful things. We do not need those things. God is not trying to hide anything from us. He didn't cover her in that place. And so then she carried this guilt of, I'm not good enough. I ruined everything. I can't be trusted. And then that was the wound that continued to carry down to every woman that came after her. So all the women that you read in the Bible, all the women in every lineage and stuff, suffers from that same exact wound of, I'm not good enough, or I messed things up. And this is where we have women showing up today with identity insecurity. They feel insecure about who God has called them to be. They don't even want to outwardly say what they believe that God has called them to be on the inside, because they feel ashamed about it. They don't feel like they're good enough to walk in that life, or walk in that purpose that God has given to them. They over apologize for everything, because they feel like everything is always their fault. And I've known many people that, like, when we have conversations, I'm like, please stop apologizing. You don't have to apologize. It's okay. Like, I tell people, even when they apologize to me, I was like, do you feel like this is something that you should be apologizing for? I mean, do you feel like you did something wrong? Because I don't think you did anything wrong, so I don't feel like there's a need for you to apologize. Yes, there are times when apologies are necessary, but in most cases, it is not. You have people who over-explain things because they feel like no is not a good enough answer. They lack boundaries because they feel like they have to be everything to everybody. They self-sabotage their relationships, their opportunities, their purpose, their everything, because they don't feel like they're good enough. They mistrust their own discernment, even if they believe wholeheartedly, I believe that God told me this is what I'm supposed to be doing, or I believe that this situation, something is not right. I'm discerning that something's not right, but then they don't believe the thing on the inside of them that's telling them this is not what it's supposed to be, or go in this direction and not this direction. Literally eating that fruit caused her to break down her understanding of yeah, it exposed good and evil, but it made it more of an internalized focus on, am I good enough or am I full of evil? And started seeing her image in a distorted way, which has caused women to see their image in a distorted way. So Eve wasn't the origin of the problem. Eve was the target. She was targeted specifically for a strategic reason to try to destroy every woman coming after, because we are the producers of life. And if the enemy can destroy us, then everything that we are intended to birth out into the earth, whether spiritually or naturally, is going to be connected to our DNA. It's going to, like, trauma travels through the bloodline, literally. So it's going to affect the children in our womb. It's going to affect us walking in our purpose. It's going to affect everything that we try to do in the spirit realm or the natural realm if we do not shift and change our focus and our mindset of understanding that this was a wound that was planted on the inside of us, and God wants to restore us back to the original state of how He created us to be in the Garden of Eden. So that is where we had to get all the way back to, so that now I can walk you through the other revelations that He's given me, and then you'll start to see things in a different light, in the light of understanding what truly happened to Eve. So I hope you guys have an amazing night. I hope that you understand, and that, Father, that you would just give them the revelation that you gave me in this very moment, of knowing that you love them so much, and that the plot and the plan on their lives, the attacks that they have gone through, the divisiveness of the enemy to try to destroy them, even in seed form, it was originated back in the garden when he originally targeted Eve in that moment. And that we come against every plot and lie of the enemy to tell us we're not good enough, to tell us we're not deserving of your goodness, to tell us that our identity is somehow tainted. We thank you that we are made in your image and your likeness, that we walk in the authority that you have given unto us, and that we walk in the favor and we walk in the rights as your daughters and kingdom heirs in this earth. In Jesus' name, amen. I love you all. I will see you tomorrow.